Welcome to the first seminar for Unit 3. We have three things on our agenda for this seminar. First, some check-ins and reminders about your trend analysis assignment. Second, we're going to introduce the professional portfolio, which is your last major assignment for this course. Third, we are going to introduce a topic that was mentioned in the previous seminar, which is how to approach your use of social media when you are starting to think seriously about your credibility and professional profile. We have only one reminder for you. As you already know, the due date for the final draft of the trend analysis is approaching. Your instructor will be in touch with you about that due date, but you want to make sure that you are in touch with your team and working through the feedback on your second draft of the assignment. In terms of the trend analysis, let's just take another quick look at the requirements. Make sure that you've got what we're asking for in terms of secondary sources. Don't forget one visual element, a photo, chart, or whatever, properly cited. Please remember that the Fleming Library has very helpful tips for you about how to cite visual sources. Or you can always go to OWL at Purdue, the online writing lab. Finally, your team needs to make sure you've got all the report components, including the title page and a letter of transmittal. Okay, let's talk about the professional portfolio assignment. First of all, the idea here is for you to put together a showcase that demonstrates your communication skills. Imagine that your audience is not your instructor, but an external professional audience, possibly even a potential employer. In fact, our hope is that you may be able to use your portfolio as a selling feature when you are looking for work. There are two parts to the portfolio. First, you will write a brief introduction to the writing samples that you'll provide in your portfolio. Specifically, you're going to explain how the skills you picked up in this course will contribute to your success. Here, we're asking you to discuss your skills, but also to demonstrate them. In the second part of the portfolio, you're going to present 3 to 5 short samples of your writing from this term. Each sample should include a brief explanatory introduction. As always, don't take what we're saying here as the last word on the portfolio assignment. Instead, make sure you read the detailed instructions for yourself. Now, let's turn to the potential downsides of social media. Here's a story from a few years ago, but it happens all the time. You graduate from college and get a good job, in this case in border services. You go out for some drinks after work, photos are posted, and guess what? Maybe you lose your job. Perhaps you have already had experiences with things that were posted that you later regretted, or that had a negative impact on others. So, let's think a little bit about you as a professional in the making. The first thing we need to remember is that once you get a professional position, you represent your employer even when you're not at work. Second, thanks to Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, it's very easy to get a lot of digital tattoos, the trail of photos and posts that we all leave behind us. But just like real tattoos, they are very hard to get rid of if we change our mind about them. Third, we aren't talking about illegal activity. There are lots of things you can do that are legal, but they aren't very professional. And it's professionalism that we're after here in looking at our social media use. So let's play a little game. We're going to shoot some examples of online communication at you and ask you to reflect on where it would be acceptable to post each. Are you ready? What do you think? Is there anywhere you wouldn't post this? Probably not, unless you're worried about other students seeing you brag about your mark. How about this one? You'd want to be careful about how this could get shared, especially if it got back to the instructor. But you should also be careful about what you are telegraphing about your attitude, especially if that post is going to be around forever. Well, this one is probably joking, but the writer probably doesn't know that Fleming has policies about harassing or threatening communications on our network. That could bounce back in some very unexpected ways. This one isn't made up. It was a tweet, and the writer had her job offer withdrawn as a result of it. Now for some photos. Harmless, right? Totally Instagram. But what if your boss follows you on Instagram? Still okay? Or worth thinking about first? We know you're going to laugh at this. How could you not? But as a smart move for a newly hired firefighter, at the very least, it's in poor taste. Speaking of poor taste, how about this Instagram post? Cringeworthy for sure. And potentially a lot of trouble back in the workplace. This was posted by a math teacher in Colorado. Now, it's great that weed is legal in Colorado, but that's still not a great way to represent the Board of Education that hired you. And her? She was fired. Another school district employee who lost her job, in this case because of this snarky Twitter response to a student. Now, let's look at some common questions about privacy and the digital realm. First, is the privacy of my text messages protected under Ontario law? The answer is no, because there is no expectation of privacy with text messages. Second, can employers legally search my email without prior agreement? The answer is generally no, but they can if you have consented to it when you got hired, which is very common. Third, when I delete a text message from my phone, is it gone forever? Again, the answer is no. Depending on your service provider, the half-life of a text message can range from 24 hours to forever. Fourth, when Snapchat pictures disappear, they're gone, right? Well, yes and no. It only takes a click to save one as a screenshot, and those pictures can also be recovered from memory. Fifth and finally, your Facebook is your personal space, right? Unfortunately, there have been many cases of employees fired for Facebook posts. Also, a social media search is a very common move by an employer when looking at candidates for a job. If you want to read more about social media and professionalism, check out this article that we've put on D2L for you to read. Thanks for listening in to this seminar.